What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Today's video is a clip from The Line. If you want to catch me on The Line, I'm on there once a month to host Skept Talk. The Line also has a number of other shows that you might be interested in. So after you watch this clip today, why don't you go on over there, subscribe, and be sure to catch the next show. Bull? How you doing there, Michael?
Great. How are you doing? Is it John?
Yes, this is John.
Yeah. Hey, John. Nice to meet you over the phone. Well, I've been following quite a while, and I just find it an interesting topic. For me, well, first of all, I'm going to say that I think ultimately we both have to say we're agnostic on the God question, and I think that's why the whole agnostic atheist term comes about. And that's why I actually, I can't prove to you that God exists, but the argument that I like, so maybe you guys like a formal argument that I can run through and we can jump off from there, and I can present that if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay, so this is, it's actually from Peter Kreeft, and you probably heard it before, but it's just four-step argument. We experience the universe as intelligible. The intelligibility means that the universe is graspable by our intelligence. Two is either the universe, the intelligible universe, and the finite mind so well suited to grasp it are the products of intelligence, or both the intelligibility and intelligence are the products of blind chance. This one that you might not agree with. Step three is not blind chance. And then the conclusion is, therefore, the intelligible universe and the finite mind so well suited to grasp it are the products of intelligence. And I think it kind of fits into the previous caller too in a tangential way. Hello?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just considering it. Plus, my mind's really foggy tonight. Derek, did you have any thoughts?
No, I've heard this one before, and I know it's been addressed elsewhere, but I don't recall. I think somebody like Richard Carrier, who's really great at analytic philosophy, would be the right person to kind of pry apart this one. I don't have an immediate answer to this myself.
Well, I can kind of flesh it out a bit. It's pretty, I'll present it in maybe a little bit simpler terms. Let's say, can we agree that, the universe is intelligible? We can use science to, probe the universe and come up with true factual knowledge. I think we can probably all agree on that. So the universe is intelligible. Our minds are able to, go ahead.
Hold on. So I can agree with that, but do you also agree that science is a man-made tool that we use in order to understand reality? And so, like, if reality was different in some kind of way, if reality was different in some kind of way, then science would also be different.
To probe the physical universe.
Right. So I guess I'm really unfazed by, like, I don't understand how that factors into your argument, because, like, if I make a tool in order to, drive a piece of metal into wood.
No, I agree. So that's just that's step one. I think everyone's pretty much going to commonly agree with that. Every scientist, physicist, or whatever is probably going to agree with that. And then, so it's really step two and step three, which basically, take it out of the analytic philosophy realm and just say, basically it's saying that because of, it's kind of like the argument from reason, saying that because intelligence exists, rationality exists, logic exists, that the universe itself couldn't have produced that, and then it goes into consciousness as well.
Well, so you would need to prove that
just from the laws of physics and matter and energy. It goes. In the briefest of time, Hawking said, "What breathes fire into the equations?"
Michael,
and I would say that intelligence. Yeah, go ahead,
Michael.
Go ahead. Yeah.
You need to prove that in, like, intelligence and all the things that you listed can't be naturally produced. Like, that's the problem with the argument as far as, I guess, step 2 goes. You need to prove that the universe or that nature can't produce those things, which I don't think that you can actually do.
Yeah, exactly. And
right. The problem I'm having is I don't understand why intelligence or rationality or any of these cognitive processes or labels that we give to things, the way we evaluate things. I don't understand why that can't be an emergent property or emergent properties. I don't. It doesn't follow to me.
Okay, I can respond to that. For me, and this is just I have an engineering background, and as a hobby, I try to follow physics and science and stuff like that. But I would say that for me, even Hawking's In a Brief History of Time, Stephen Hawking said, what breathes the fire into the equations? I know that's thrown out there a lot, but I think that open-ended question leaves to me. It kind of lends for me towards some type of intelligence. And then, and then consciousness itself, I know that's a big thing, and people, start getting weird about it and start talking about woo-woo. But there is just that big mystery behind it. And for me, just on an intuitive level, because for one, as I said in the opening, that I can't prove it. For me, it's just more.
Michael,
go ahead.
So what I'm not hearing is evidence that nature can't produce intelligence, and that we need some kind of magical aspect to like our consciousness or our intelligence or anything like that. Right. So that's where I'm stuck at. Well, I mean, that's where I'm stuck at, because we have natural explanations for like how our brains developed. We have natural explanations for how our brains operate. We have natural explanations for all these things that do not include any kind of magic that's necessary for any of these things to happen. Right. So what I would need from you in order to take this argument seriously is some kind of explanation or argument that explains how nature can't produce those things.
Sure. Nature has produced those things, so that nature can produce those things. I'm a kind of like a vague evolutionist. And go ahead.
Then why do we need God? If nature's perfectly capable of producing intelligence, consciousness, and all that, then it seems like we don't need a God in order to explain where those things came from.
Well, that's the possibility space for it to happen. That is what needs something. I could give an argument for a necessary being, and you could say, well, it's a quantum waveform, but it does come down to intuition or trying to actually convince somebody. But for me, it just doesn't fit. And then I personally have had many, many experiences where I know that consciousness is not contained just within a quantum waveform inside my skull. I know that even my own consciousness pushes out, into the world in a way. And I'm not going to tell you about any experiences because I might lose credibility.
How do you prove that? Like, what's the proof that your mind magically leaves your body and experiences reality outside of your physical body?
Well, I mean, I have had an OB, out-of-body experience, and I also have experienced instances of telepathy, which, I can't document scientifically because they were basically things that just happened in the course of life. But for me personally, just because I've had enough of those experiences that I know it does exist. So thoughts, I think, can transcend
let me ask you this.
Neuronal patterns in your brain. Go ahead.
Well, let me ask you this, because you seem to indicate that you're somehow telepathic. How can you discern that from, you just having some kind of false belief that you can read people's minds? I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been through that phase in my life too. When I was a little kid running around with my friends, I was like, oh yes, the fucker's hiding in those East Woods over there. Go get him. And it's like the dude was hiding behind a car or something, I've bullshitted myself into believing ridiculous shit in the past too. I'm just saying, how do you
Right.
discern between bullshitting yourself and like you're really telepathic?
Yeah, well, for me, it's because, by projecting a thought and then I've done it kind of experimentally with friends and then also even with strangers where it seems to have happened, but, and even in more subtle ways, but, it can become anecdotal and psychological and you can explain it all away. So I don't want to go down that route. I mean, for me, that's proof. For me, it's proof. I mean, it's experience because everything that we know, every factual piece of knowledge, every belief based on real facts about the world are based on our experience.
Michael.
So, I think it's valid for the individual.
What does it mean to project a thought?
Well, I'm not saying believe me or not. I'm just saying what I've experienced in my life.
That's not what
for me. So that gives me
does it mean to project
evidence.
a thought? Like
you
put two fingers to your temple and you just think really hard about something? Like, what am I thinking about right now?
It is about focus and projecting a thought, and it is obviously in a language too. And so, it has to be, an advanced English speaker for it to happen or whatever. But I don't want to go too much into my anecdotal experiences because.
Okay, but before you continue, though, Michael, Derreck has some input.
Go ahead.
Derreck has some input on projecting thoughts, maybe a more serious topic. What do you got, Derreck?
Michael?
Derreck? Go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
What am I thinking right now?
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing. It's a local phenomenon, and it's in my own personal theory. It's based on quantum waveforms, in your mind that operate on a level that's too subtle for detectors to detect.
Wrong answer. The answer was Jimmy Kimmel's ass. That thing is good.
Pretty much. That's why I didn't want to go down this.
Good. And you're there in California. You could go bring it to us right now.
Well,
Michael, I do want to say
we're off on this tangent now. I wanted to kind of stick more with science and start talking about some other things that lead me to believe that some type of, formative intelligence caused the reality that we exist in.
Yeah, but you understand that what we're asking is that we need evidence in order to say that.
That's what Hawking meant by what breathes the fire into the equation, some type of teleology. Even in evolution, they've changed it. They don't call it teleology now. They call it teleonomy. And that's basically just the whole process that, that creates the survival of the fittest, that creates the alleles and the whole genetic structure that gets passed on and gets evolved into more and more complexity. But I think we're in a pretty good space because our minds are the most complex things in the known universe.
You take way too long to talk.
Push that subject. Go ahead.
Michael.
Go ahead.
Michael. So what I'm not hearing is you justifying some of these claims that you're making. Like you're just claiming stuff without actually providing evidence for it. And when we ask for evidence, you're like, well, I'm telepathic. And then when we try to test your telepathy, you're like, well, it's a local thing. You got to be here so I can project my mind into your mind. So
you cut off there. I don't know if you can hear me.
We got you there, Michael. I'm just saying that we're not hearing evidence. We're just hearing claims, like anecdotal claims, and no actual justification
for. That's why, I mean, we're on this rabbit hole, and that's why I've been saying, as I've been telling you this, that's not really what I want to try to present to you. I'm just saying, for me personally, because you asked me, what leads me to believe that, the argument from consciousness that I'm giving you, because basically what we're saying is, and we could get into fine-tuning and multiverse and, the many worlds and, go down all these rabbit holes to try to explain our reality. But I think that some type of theism must, that's why I call myself an agnostic theist, just that I just don't believe that it's a random miracle that this beautiful earth exists in the way that it does. Now, I'm not saying that's impossible.
So no. Well, I can't let that go. I can't let that go, Michael, because it's not like a random miracle. Derreck explained this pretty well earlier. Like, it's not just all chaos and all this other stuff, molecules bouncing into one another. I mean, molecules do bounce into one another, but your understanding of what random is not like what we're talking about in this particular instance.
Exactly, but it's a whole thing. That is the way I would approach it. If I was going to try to argue the case, would be that go back to what Hawking said. What breathes fire into the equation?
Hold on. Okay, I don't care what Hawking said, Michael. I really don't care.
Explain our physical reality.
Michael, I don't care what Hawking said. Michael, I don't care what Hawking said. Okay, I don't care about any of that. Let's try to reduce this down to something a little bit simpler. All right. So, is there? Do we know how to explain precipitation, like rain? I used this with one of the last caller, Anthony, I believe it was. But with rain, like, do you believe that we need God in order for rain to occur?
No, obviously not. I probably believe exactly the same theories and evidence that you do. Pretty much, unless I find something dodgy, which theoretical physics and some of these things start getting dodgy. But you mentioned emergence.
Okay. Hold on, Michael.
Because
I get that you have a lot to say, but please just bear with me here, okay? So you would say that whether or not an area of the world gets precipitation, that would not be random, right? Like, that's not random.
No, it's purely based on the laws of physics and water molecules and how they interact and temperature differentials, all that stuff.
Okay, good. I'm so glad we're on the same page, right? So with consciousness, intelligence, and all this other stuff that we're talking about in this argument, those are emergent properties of physical systems that are not random, right? In the same way that precipitation's not random. The biological systems.
Because go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, well, I mean, I was just going to say that the biological systems are not randomly developed. They're not randomly evolved or anything like that. They're but intelligence and consciousness, those are emergent properties that are exhibited by those systems. And so this is all very naturalistically explained.
Okay, so I granted that what you said, that's factual statement, and this is where we fall into the inexactitude of human language. But you keep saying emergence, and I'm going to say, well, that's not a whole lot different than magic, except that there's a causation and a correlation factor that we can look at. But
let me ask you this, okay? If I mix, hold on,
molecules and matter. Go ahead.
Hey, Michael. If I mix two different colors together, producing a different color, is there somehow magic that happens in order for that new color to be produced, or is that new color an emergent property of this new mixture?
Well, the emergent color is just the wavelengths of the light, and it's your consciousness that perceives it.
Right.
The problem is whenever there's go ahead.
Well, I'm just trying to simply explain to you how it, like, emergence of some kind of property, when you mix two different things together, or things develop, together, or develop over time, or whatever, the emergence of new properties of whatever it turns into is literally not magic. It's a natural explanation. So you just saying, emergent properties are magical.
That's what I said. Right. I mean, I'm not saying that it's magic. I only use that word because you had used it earlier. But what I'm saying is we use the word emergent. Gaps, these jumps in complexity that we go, like, the whole hard problem of consciousness, it's a real thing. And if you really look at all the very many intricate arguments, there's a lot of people and a lot of, physicists and scientists now that are looking at it as something that we can't just say, that it emerged for no reason. I think you talk about viruses and bacteria. You look at the very most basic types of life form. They have a teleology within those organisms to survive, the will to survive, or however we're going to try to put it in human language. But there's some kind of force, even in the most basic type of life, that wants to go towards survival and reproducing itself. That's I guess emergent too, but I put emergent, then I put a question mark by it in my mind, and there's logical gaps when we throw out that word. We can say, well, it just emerged from matter and energy over the course of time because, we got lucky in this little Goldilocks spot of the universe, which that is also true as far as we know. We haven't found any other life. Although
Michael,
so I guess
we do need to wrap up.
So go ahead. Yeah.
I was just saying we do need to wrap up, and I feel like I'm gaining like nothing here at the end. I don't know, Derreck. Do you have anything to close out with?
I understand. I would say the same thing about saying that there's no God. I would say that you're an agnostic who claims that there's no God. Well, fine, but you're left.
No, that's not what I claim.
You don't have any proof either.
That's not what an agnostic claims, and that's not what I
claim.
True,
right? Ultimately, you're agnostic when it comes to God, aren't you?
Yes.
Logically? Right.
Yes.
So, we can leave it at that, fellas. But, hey, it was nice chatting with you. There's a lot of deep topics, a lot of science, behind it all that would take hours and hours to flesh out. But I just wanted to jump on and see what you guys thought.
Thank you for your call, Michael.
Thank you for calling in, Michael.
That was my pleasure, guys. You guys have a great one.
All right. You do the same there, Michael. Oh my God. Okay.
I felt like at least he's a really nice guy. Like, contrast his tone and his demeanor with, Anthony, and there's a world of difference. Like, at least he's sounds like a reasonable human being.
He's a
right,
guy,
right.
Yeah.
At least he's a nice guy. I just really can't get on that. Why wouldn't you think that properties are emergent in nature? That's precisely what we observe. And I don't know. I don't understand why he would put a question mark by emergent, because emergent is defined, right?
Right. I feel like whenever we use the words, we know what those words mean. It's not a question that this is emergent, right?
Yeah.
Anyways. What's up, Heathen? Thank you so much for checking out this clip from The Line. If you enjoyed this clip today, you can get more of it by subscribing to The Line. So hit up those links in the description so you can catch me the next time I host Skep Talk. I don't know, was that 20 seconds? Here's some filler shit for, to fill out the 20 seconds. I don't know. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.